Hello, fellow book readers. My name is John, and today I want to talk about my top 10 favorite fantasy book characters of all time. I'm a bit of a character reader, so when I read books, I do look for characters that I enjoy, and that's what really invests me in a book. And I know it invests a lot of people in books. That's one of the main drawing points of, reading. But for me, it's always been characters before plot. That doesn't mean I want books with bad plot, but it does mean I want books with characters that I really like. And that tends to bring books up higher for me than other things like plot or theme or writing or prose. Today I want to do top 10 fantasy book characters. I think in the future I'm going to do another uh, top 10 list with characters that aren't in fantasy, characters that will combine, like lit fiction, historical fiction, sci-fi, other things. But for today, I'm just going to focus on fantasy because I mostly read fantasy. I definitely have characters that I really like outside of fantasy, but I really want to focus on the fantasy characters. So let's start off with a few honorable mentions, though. So just honorable mention, I'm just going to throw out a few names. Elend from Mistborn. I really, really like Elend. He's my favorite character in the Mistborn series. I just think he's really interesting character from like moment one when you see him and he's reading books at the ball instead of like actually doing stuff. Like he's upstairs reading books. It's like what he wants to do, and then like his struggle to lead and his desire to learn, and then the third book with his power. And he has one of the best battle speeches I've ever read in Hero of the Ages. As a matter of fact, I think it's my second favorite battle speech I've ever read after Theoden's speech in Before the Ride of the Rohirrim in Return of the King. That speech will never be top, but Elend's is still really good. And then we also got Poe from the Emily Wilde series. I think Poe is one of the best side characters I've ever read. Maybe even my favorite side character I've ever read. He's just hilarious, just such a great character. And he's in all three books in just the right amount. Just the right amount you want him in. He's there. So yeah, I'm a big Poe fan. Another honorable mention would obviously be Perrin and Andarna from the Fourth Wing series. Those two dragons, I think they complement each other really well. I have a really hard time separating them as characters. I think together they are at their best. I do think they both make me laugh in very different ways. I think they are obviously the highlight of that series. There is the dragons. So say what you want about the series. I really enjoy the dragons. Bilbo Baggins, another honorable mention for me. I'm a big Bilbo fan. I love The Hobbit. Bilbo is awesome in that book. He probably would be like the last person left off the list if I was to rank the honorable mentions. Bilbo is just awesome. Gotta mention Bilbo for sure. Hermione Granger, just a great character. I think of the trio, she has the most characterization. Like Harry is sort of a blank piece of paper. Ron, he's sort of one note, like dumb funny. Hermione, she has a little depth to her, and I really enjoy the character arc she goes on in Goblet of Fire, where she's doing that like sort of thing for the house elves. I really love the Time Turner arc in Prisoner of Azkaban. I really love the fact that she's not, she doesn't have a wizard ancestry, so she has to deal with like the sort of discrimination that goes on with the purebloods. Just really think she's a strong character. Arya Stark, yeah, Arya barely missed the list. I think Arya Stark is a better TV show character than she's a book character. Like if we were ranking top 10 TV show characters, she would be on the list for sure. As a book character, she just like barely misses the list. She's still great in the books. I just don't think she's as, but still awesome. Still, one of my favorites for sure. Oh, Glorfindel from Tolkien. Yeah, he's just not on page enough for me to really say Glorfindel is high. But I love the Glorfindel story. He's just such a good character. And his moment in Fellowship of the Ring has some of my favorite like Tolkien prose in it. When Frodo sees him from the river and he's lit up and he will not dim. That was such good writing. Glorfindel's awesome. Especially if you connect him to the old Glorfindel, which I think later on in Tolkien's life he decided they were going to be the same character. He's an awesome character. I got to throw Manon Blackbeak on there, or Manon Blackbeak from Glass. I think she's awesome. Just a badass witch, capital B badass. And she goes through a great story arc where she sort of humanizes her a little bit. Really love her. Great character. But okay, without further ado, let's introduce the top 10, and I'm going to attempt to put them in order. Now, it's funny because this order can definitely change day to day. But for now, this is the order I'm sticking with. Number 10, we got Daemon Targaryen, the Fire and Blood book by George R.R. Martin, which details the past Targaryen kings and queens. He is part of the Dance with the Dragons arc in this book. He is Prince Daemon. He just has such good characterization. There's like three things in this book that are Daemon Targaryen related that I love, that I think are some of George's best writing ever. He's just such a good character. He's the best character in the TV show too, House of the Dragon. At least I think so. Let's go over those three things real fast. Okay, so the first quote is, and I think this is like the best character description I've ever read. The first quote is, "Over the centuries, House Targaryen has produced both great men and monsters. Prince Daemon was both. In his day, there was not a man so admired, so beloved, and so reviled in all Westeros. He was made of light and darkness in equal parts." It's just a badass way to describe a character, and it's not like they just describe him like that, and then he's not like that. He is totally like that in the plot. He fits both equal parts light and dark, and you see people that revile him and people that love him. And for me, I love him, but I also I would never want to be friends with this dude. He's a horrible person, but he's such a great character. And then, of course, he's got some great quotes. So the first great quote, I'm going to give you two. The first great quote is after Luke Harris dies, after Rhaenyra's son dies, who again isn't even Daemon Targaryen's son. It's his stepson. When everybody's mourning at Dragonstone, and Rhaenyra and her council are meeting to discuss how to take revenge against Aemon Targaryen, she receives a letter in the middle of the night, and it's from Daemon, and the letter says, "An eye for an eye, a son for a son, Luke Harris shall be avenged." It's just such a perfect quote. It's so Daemon. It's just badass on top of badass. And I was so pissed when they didn't include this in the show, because this is the best quote in the series, in my opinion, and it's just not in the show. And I have no idea why. Whose decision that was. They should have been fired immediately. And then, of course, the next quote is the quote right before he dies. Aemon Targaryen lands in Harrenhal, and it's just Aemon and Daemon, and that's what everything was building towards. And Aemon says, "You have lived too long, uncle." And Daemon's just "On that much we agree." It's such a badass quote, and his end, he has the best death in I think all of A Song of Ice and Fire. That fight where he basically sacrifices himself to kill Aemon and his dragon. Oh, just so badass. Such a great death. So Daemon. Yeah, I don't think you get better than Daemon Targaryen in Fire and Blood. For sure. And, arguably in all of A Song of Ice and Fire, although he's not my favorite A Song of Ice and Fire character, he's up there. That's a spoiler. You will see more Song of Ice and Fire characters on this list. And I'm not limiting this list to one per series, otherwise we'd go, a lot different. There's multiple characters per series on this list. Okay, next up is Eddard Stark, aka Ned Stark from Game of Thrones. Now, I am holding up Storm of Swords, but that's only because I was too lazy to get out my Game of Thrones book, which is, I had them stacked on top of each other. It's all the way at the bottom. Didn't want to knock over a bunch of stuff. So I'm just holding up Storm of Swords for now. He's obviously not in Storm of Swords because he gets beheaded at the end of Game of Thrones. Spoilers. I think Ned Stark is George's most good character almost. George primarily says he writes great characters. I don't totally buy that. He writes a lot of characters that I would definitely consider good and a lot of characters I would definitely consider bad. But he does, in fact, write a lot of great characters. Ned is purely good, and that doesn't mean he only does good things, but the honor he has is so good, and I love the way George wrote him. The fact that he prioritizes honor is so good, and you see it so often in the first book, Game of Thrones. I think, and Game of Thrones is really his book. If there was a main character in any of the books, Ned Stark would be the main character of Game of Thrones. He has, I think, the most chapters in the book. Maybe not, but he definitely has a lot of chapters. And the story in it's just awesome. You root for him the entire time. I don't know anybody that's read Game of Thrones I'm not rooting for Ned Stark. you're obviously rooting for Ned Stark. And what happens to him is tragic, but he dies obviously keeping some sort of secret. We know that from the dreams he has. And you spend the rest of the series wondering what it is. Obviously, we now know what it is, even though it has not been revealed in the books yet. But the implications of the things that he does in this book pretty much set the entire events of the series. And he's such a simple character, yet he has many layers too. I love Ned Stark. I think he's such a great character. For the longest time, he was my favorite A Song of Ice and Fire character. But then I obviously changed it. It's an amazing character. I love Ned Stark. Okay, then number 8, we got Shallan Davar from Stormlight Archive. She's my favorite Stormlight Archive character. She's, obviously one of my favorite characters I've ever read. I love how much she wants to learn. That's like my favorite part about her. She's always trying to learn the new things. I think it's written really well too. I love the trauma that she goes through in these books. She goes through so much trauma. It's like actually insane. And her flashback chapters in Words of Radiance, they're my favorite flashback chapters of all. Her family life was just so screwed up. And when you see her mother is actually one of the heralds in Wind and Truth, it all clicks and makes sense. And she has so many great scenes. Her meeting her mother again is such a great scene. When you learn she has a second spren that she actually killed, it's so sad. But then that spren still stays with her. It's just sad. It's so heartwarming. She has such a loving personality, but she's also so scarred by her trauma that she can't quite bring it around and show it. And she's constantly running, but towards the end she shows real courage and bravery. She's such a good character, and I think she's the most well-written character in the series. Obviously some people would argue Kaladin. For me, it's Shallan, and it's close, but I think Shallan is awesome. Just a great character, and I hope she's she's obviously going to be in the next, Stormlight Phase 2 books, but right now where she's trapped, I hope she can get back to Roshar and Adelin at some point. That's my hope. I don't know if that's the direction he's going to go or not, though. Number 7 for me would be Dorian Havilliard from Throne of Glass. I'm holding up Airfire because that is my favorite Throne of Glass book, even though I don't think this is the best Dorian book of all time. I love Dorian. And I'll tell you why I love Dorian. I see there's 2 ways these sort of young prince characters are written. They're either extremely mean and flirty, or they're extremely sweet, but that's their entire character. They have no depth. They are not flirty. They're not charismatic. The sweet ones are never charismatic, while the sort of bastard mean ones are always charismatic. Dorian is somehow both sweet and charismatic and joking and jokester and a humorous individual all at the same time, while at the same time having a complex story that has a ton of trauma in it and healing, and he has so many good plot points in this series, and I just really like the way he is written because I think he's sort of unique for a prince character. That doesn't mean that prince character is never written like that ever, but it's pretty rare, at least from what I've seen, for a prince character to be both sweet and charismatic at the same time. And the sweet's not a phony sweet. It's he's actually just a really good dude. So I'm a big Dorian fan because I think Sarah nailed that, and I don't think that gets nailed as often in fantasy as you would think it would be. And like I said, there's the stuff he goes his arc in A Kingdom of Ash, the last book, where it's am I human or not? That's such a powerful arc, and it worked really well, and I was super invested. And when he had the collar on in Queen of Shadows, it was I was super invested. Is he going to survive? And then sort of the darkness he comes out of, and the darkness, you see him he's not himself in Empire of Storm. And I just think Dorian's a great character, and I really enjoyed my time reading him. Number 6 for me, Rand al'Thor. I think he's the best Chosen One character ever written in literature. Look, I don't know. That doesn't mean all media. I think Luke and Anakin as Chosen One characters in the Star Wars, and yes, I think they're joint Chosen One. I don't think one exists without the other in the Chosen One universe. are probably a bit better for me, or maybe I'm like bigger fans of those two. But in terms of literature, I don't think a better chosen one character exists than Randolph Thor. That's been better written. And that's the testament to his writing, because I really did not like Randolph Thor in Eye of the World and The Great Hunt. It took till The Dragon Reborn for me to grow, for Randolph Thor to grow on me. He was just too whiny in the first two books. I was like, what is this character? Why would I ever root for him? And then you see the madness start to seep in The Dragon Reborn, and you see him like sort of like accept his destiny, and the struggles he goes through the rest of the books are just so good. He's written with so much depth, because he's not one note at all. He has so many notes, and they're all so important and so good, and it all comes to a head with Veins of Gold at the end of The Gathering Storm, which is one of the best chapters I've ever read. It's not my favorite Wheel of Time chapter either, but just like period, it's one of the best chapters I've ever read. Like, it's so good. And I know some people call him like Divine Rand after that, and yeah, it fits. He's very like sort of like a divine figure after that, and I think the end for Rand is so good too. Yeah, I just think Rand is really well written. I think he's got, a lot of depth to him, and he can be funny, he can be nice, he can be mean. He's a great fighter, but he's not great right away. He has to learn how to be great. And people doubt him. Not everybody believes him, and it's just so good, and it all comes together in such a great way. I can't speak enough about Randolph Thor. He's awesome. Okay, number 5. We go to Gandalf, our first Tolkien character on the list. Actually, our only Tolkien character on the list. Gandalf, he's definitely my favorite Tolkien character. Bilbo's close, but Gandalf would be ahead of him for sure. I love Gandalf because I love mentor characters in general, and I think Gandalf is arguably the best mentor character ever written. He is such a good mentor character. He's got everything you want. He's got the wisdom, he's got the appearance, he's got humor, and he's got seriousness. Like, he can do both, and he does both really well, and there's a lot of great quotes that'll make you laugh from Gandalf, and there's a lot of great quotes that will teach you things in these books from Gandalf. And he's not only great in Lord of the Rings, he's great in The Hobbit. The Hobbit's my favorite Tolkien book, and he's awesome in that book. Is it more lighthearted? Is he more humorous? Yes. I don't know what the hell the movies were thinking. But from front to back, and I know people are like, well, Gandalf the Grey is awesome, but I didn't really like Gandalf the White. I love Gandalf the White equally as much as I love Gandalf the Grey. Yeah, is he a little bit more divine when he's Gandalf the White? Sure. But I don't think he loses his humor. Some people think he lost his humor when he's Gandalf the White. He still has some pretty funny moments, but we got some serious stuff going down when he's Gandalf the White. He can't be as humorous as he used to be. He has to be on top of his game. And he is. He is. And the last scene where he tells Frodo not to weep, he tells the hobbits not to weep, because not all tears are an evil. That's a paraphrasing that quote. I don't remember it exactly. It's one of the best lines in the series. Super powerful moment. It made me cry. Yeah, Gandalf for sure. He's up there. Number 5. Okay, number 4. We got Egwene Alvir from Wheel of Time. She's my favorite Wheel of Time character. I think she's the best Robert Jordan character. I said this in another video. I think she's just the most interesting character in the series, because she's the only one of the Edenfield 5 that actually wants to go on the adventure in book 1. Like, I genuinely, I struggle with Eye of the World. It's my least favorite Wheel of Time book. Her and Moraine saved that book for me. She is such a good character in that book. Like, immediately she's like, yeah, I want to go on the adventure. The other people have to be like dragged. She's like, no, I don't want to live in this village for the rest of my life. Like, what are we doing? Well, get me in this adventure. I am ready. I want to go. And when she's told she can be an Aes Sedai, she's like, yeah, sign me up. Take me to the White Tower right now. I want to learn. And I love that. I love a character that wants to learn, like I said. So I love Shallan further down on the list. So I really like Hermione. Egwene, she fits that role too. And she's a great leader. Her arc where she becomes the Amaran, it makes so much sense. A lot of people hate Egwene online. You'll see a lot of Egwene hate culture online. I don't understand. To me, those people just might be misogynistic, because I don't think there's really anything to hate with Egwene Alvir. She's an awesome character. I love her strength. I love her intelligence. I love her bravery and courage. Her desire to learn. She gets leadership thrown on her, and she takes it like a mantle. Like, she doesn't hesitate. She's the best leader in the series, even better than Rand, in my opinion, by far. The trauma she goes through is second to none. I mean, she's made a slave. First, she gets kidnapped by the White Cloaks in Eye of the World, and then she's made a slave to the Song-Chan in Book 2, and then she's captured and put in a cell by the Black Aja in Book 3. You know, you got, like, she gets sort of beat by the Wise Ones when she's learning with them. She kind of gets tortured. She gets unknowingly tortured by a Forsaken. Throughout the entire Saladar arc, she's getting tortured without knowing it. Then she gets imprisoned by the White Tower and beat by the White Tower daily. It's insane. She comes through all that to become the leader, and then she has such a great death scene. I don't agree with her death. It's why I don't love A Memory of Light. One of the reasons, one of many, that I don't love A Memory of Light. I just think it's good, not great. But the scene itself is amazing. It's a great scene. I just disagree with the decision because Robert Jordan wouldn't have done it. I don't think Robert Jordan was going to kill Egwene. According to his notes, he wasn't going to kill Egwene. So, but yeah, Egwene Alvier for sure, number 4, and that's a lock-in number 4 for me. She's like the only one on the list that would never move. She can't quite get ahead of the 3 people that are ahead of her, but she's definitely, none of the people behind her can jump. She's the number 4 character for me, easily. Okay, let's go with number 3, Jaime Lannister. Yep, he's my favorite Song of Ice and Fire character. Jaime Lannister is awesome. He's the first gray character that ever got me. I know some people like my age, it would be Snape, but I knew Snape was good the entire time. Like, I was like, okay, this guy's clearly, Harry doesn't know what he's talking about. He's biased. But clearly, Snape had good intentions the entire time. I knew that from book 1. There was like a 1-week period after he killed Dumbledore where it got me. I was like, oh, I hate this guy. I absolutely hate him. But then I went back and reread it, and it was literally, it was 1 week. I went back and reread it, and I saw police like, well, Dumbledore's not begging to be alive, and Snape's hesitating. He's clearly begging him to kill him. Like, nice try. You didn't get me. You got me for a week, but I understood. So yeah, I didn't fall for Snape, which is like a lot of people's like first great character maybe they'll fall for. For me, it was Jaime Lannister. I fell for Jaime Lannister. I was like, oh, this guy's a bastard. He's evil. He's not good. He's awful, awful human. And then you get the bathtub scene with Brienne. And that is my favorite scene in A Song of Ice and Fire. It's my favorite written scene. It's so good. And after that, I became a huge fan. And like his story is just great. I think he has honor. It's not like Ned Stark honor, but he still has honor. He's a great fighter. He's a great thinker. He's super charismatic. He cares about things, and it's awesome. Maybe he's not the thinker that Tyrion is, but he's still a good thinker. He has a lot of family drama he has to deal with. He has to deal with Tywin. Tywin wants him to be somebody that he's not, and I don't think that helped him. He went through a lot of trauma too, especially in King's Landing with the Mad King, and then everybody constantly judges them. He's the Kingslayer. He's constantly getting judged by everybody, and nobody knows the real story but Jaime. Such a good character. I think he's the most well-written George character, and like I said, he's the first great character that ever got me. There's a few Jaime Lannister lines that I really love. Obviously, there are no men like me. There's only me. That's paraphrasing. It's something like that. I think that's a great line because it's like, at first you're like this arrogant bastard, and then like after you realize the entire Jaime story, you're like, oh my god, that line, it means so much because there are no people like Jaime. Nobody's gone through what Jaime's gone through. He's one of one. And then there's a line, I think it's in Feast for Crows, but it might be Dance with Dragons. I can't remember exactly. I read these books a while ago. It's been almost a decade since I've read the first 4. I read Dance with Dragons a little bit later than that. Okay, so here's the quote. So Jaime and Joanna are talking about, this is after Tywin's death, they're talking about what are they going to do with Tywin dead, and she's talking about how much she fears Tyrion, and she's like, and he's like, why should you fear? She's like, I'm around, why should you fear? And she's like, she says, Jaime, she said, tugging on his ear, sweetling, I have known you since you were a babe at Joanna's breast. You smile like Jerian and fight like Tig, and there's some of Kevin in you, else you would not wear that cloak. But Tyrion is Tywin's son, not you. I said so once to your father's face, and he would not speak to me for half a year. Men are such thundering great fools. Even if the sword would come around once in 1,000 years. Now, that quote is mostly about Tyrion, like the end. It's describing how Tyrion's like Tywin. But I love the part about Jaime, where she's like, "You're not really like Tywin at all." And that's, he describes how he's like all the other uncles, but he's not Tywin. And that's like kind of Jaime's story. Tywin is always trying to make him into something he's not. And I think it's hurt Jaime's life a lot more than it's helped it. I'm just a big Jaime fan. I think Jaime's an awesome character. And I can't wait to see what happens with him in Winds of Winter when it gets released in 2045. And now let's go to character number 2 on my list. Aelin Galathynius from Throne of Glass. Yeah, she's just awesome. I love Aelin. Front to back, I even like her in the first 2 books when she's Selena Sardothian, or first 3 books when she's Selena Sardothian. I think she's a badass character. I love how much she cares about her friends and her family and everybody, and she will lay down her arms to fight for them. And it's just perfect. She's such a fighter, and but she does it without losing her love. Like, her ability to love is always there. She has a heart, and that's why she's called Fireheart. But I see a lot of people compare her to like Delilah Bard from Darker Shade of Magic series, and it's like, no, because Delilah Bard doesn't have a heart. She just doesn't care about anything, and Aelin does. And I love the way that Sarah was able to write that, where she can have this sort of like badass female assassin warrior queen, but still make her have a heart. And I think it's really hard to write that, and she wrote it so well. I think Aelin is such a well-rounded character. I really think the trauma she goes through adds a ton of depth to her character. And I think the healing that she goes through is very realistic and very good. I think that's Sarah's like best quality as a writer, her ability to write trauma and healing. And I think Aelin's story in particular, that trauma and healing arc is amazing. Second to none I've ever read. Yeah, that's why Hair of Fire is my favorite book in the series. Yeah, so Aelin, high up there on the list for me, and I just love basically her entire character arc from front to back. I think the conclusion is perfect. I know some people wanted her to die, but I disagree. And that brings me on to my number 1 character. And, like I said, the top 3, they can be changed day by day, but these are definitely my top 3 favorite characters. And usually this character is number 1 for me. And that's probably because, I read him first when I was a lot younger. That would be Albus Dumbledore from Harry Potter. I'm a big Dumbledore fan. I think he's the best mentor character ever written. I think he's both humorous and wise, and I think the combination of the two is just slightly better than Gandalf's combination of the two. For me, I know that might be sacrilege to some people, but for me, I really, really enjoyed Dumbledore. And he's not in the story that much, so you don't overdo it, but the parts he's in is great. My 2 favorite scenes are in Phoenix, the first scene where they're going to arrest him, and he's like, why would you think I would ever agree to that? I'm not going with you quietly. And then he like defeats 3 members of the ministry at the same time and runs away. It's perfect. And then obviously the duel with Voldemort at the end of Order of the Phoenix. So great. I love how he calls him Tom. It's just perfect. He has some amazing quotes throughout the series that are just like quotes that you would like want to hang on your wall. They're like super motivational and super inspirational. I think he, his kind-heartedness is perfect, but he has that like rage in his eyes when he wants to fight, and which isn't often, only happens like once or twice in the series, but you can like feel the power because you're told very often he's the most powerful wizard in the world. He's the most powerful wizard in the world, the only one Voldemort ever fears. And you don't really see him fight that often, but like you can feel the power coming off of him, not just from that quote, just from the way he carries himself. It's so perfect. I'm a big Dumbledore fan, and I'm a big fan of mentor characters in general. It's like my favorite archetype of a character. So I don't think Dumbledore is probably ever going to be topped on my list, or like dethroned in sort of the mentor character role. Obviously, like I said, some days he's 2 or some days he's 3, but most of the time he's number 1. Probably because I read him first, but I just think he's a great character. And I even think, I love that he has a scene in Deathly Hallows even after he's dead. I think that scene is so powerful. It's so good. So yeah, that's my top 10. Dumbledore's number 1. Aelin Galathynius is number 2. Jaime Lannister's number 3. Egwene Alvear number 4. Gandalf 5. Rand al'Thor number 6. Dorian Havilliard number 7. Shallan Davar number 8. Eddard Stark number 9. Daemon Targaryen number 10. That's the top 10. Let me know what you think. Tell me who your favorite fantasy character is. If you have more than one, let me know. I'm really interested to hear it. I haven't read every fantasy book of all time. I have read a lot of fantasy books, especially in the past 2 years. I've read like 150 fantasy books in the past 2 years or something like that. So I've read a lot, but I haven't read them all. So let me know what you think.